We're here at the ATT&NW in Missouri, one of the greatest 15-inch gauge railroads in all of the United States. This is one of my absolute favorites. This and the Redwood Valley are two of my absolute favorite 15-inch gauge railroads in the nation. We're going to have a great week. We're going to start the weekend off here in Missouri. Then I'm taking off and going over to England, where I'm going to visit the Romney, Hythe Dymchurch and also the Kirklees Railroad. So this entire video is dedicated to just 15-inch gauge railroads and 15-inch gauge locomotives. You'll see with me today 3 15-inch gauge Cagneys. We're going to end up with 4 here at the show and a total of 5 locomotives at the ATT&NW this weekend. We want to thank Alex Beams and the great people at the ATT&NW that have let us come and run these locomotives and have a great time. And we're really honored to be here. This is a dream come true. We hope you enjoy this video, our time here in Missouri, and the time we're going to spend over in England. Thanks again so much for watching. We've had a great time here at the ATT&NW, and I want to thank Alex Beams and his great staff of volunteers. These folks come in day after day, weekend after weekend, and they maintain this entire facility, and it's absolutely gigantic. You can't imagine it until you've actually been here and seen it. But they've done a great job in paying tribute to the late John Woods, whose idea this was and whose dream this was, and we've just had a tremendous weekend. And again, we want to thank them for everything that they've done, allowing us to come here. They've shared everything with us. They've let us run everywhere on the railroad that we wanted to. It's just been great. I've had a lot of really neat experiences on steam locomotives. I could go back and account for situations on the Union Pacific steam locomotives, at the Ohio Central, at the Heber Valley, at Nevada, at a number of different places. But yesterday was one of the greatest experiences of my entire life here at the ATT&NW. We raced the Cagney locomotives against the 801 up the double main track up to the depot, and it was just phenomenal. So we're going to leave you with that final shot of the race, and then we're going to leave you with that scene, and then I'm jumping on a plane this afternoon, headed right over to England to the Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch. So keep watching, and one more time I want to thank Alex and his great group. They've done a tremendous job. Let's watch the race, and then off to England we go. So here we are at the Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch in New Romney, which is south of London, England. And I'm standing in the locomotive shed. We've just finished a great trip at the ATT&NW where we were playing with the 801 and the Cagney locomotives. But these locomotives are absolutely amazing. They're not quite as big as the 801, not quite as small as the Cagneys. They're kind of right in the middle. But what's really unique about this railroad is this place runs as a standard form of transportation. It hauls school children and other people from city to city here in the southern part of England. And it's done that for many, many, many years. This is probably one of the most renowned and well-known and most famous 15-inch gauge railroads in the entire world. So it's a great honor for me to be here today. We're going to show you a couple pictures of the train that we're going to ride and a few more of the locomotive shed here at Romney. But if you ever get a chance to come out here and see this railroad, this is definitely one to put on the list. here with Martin Blackwell. Martin is the overhaul engineer at the Romney, Hythe Dymchurch. What's really neat about Martin is that Martin actually came from two different industries, the automotive and the aircraft industry, where he learned CNC technology and how to use these machines. And when they recruited him to come over to the Romney, Hythe Dymchurch, one of the first things Martin did was acquire two beautiful CNC machines for the operation here. And what's unique about that is we at Wasatch have tried to incorporate CNC technology into what we do, and now Martin's doing the same thing. So Martin, tell us what it was that was so important for you, why it was important for you to have the CNC technology here as opposed to just the manual technology.
Well, really, you've got to think along the lines of we're remanufacturing component parts that have got to be accurate, they've got to be right, and we're looking at timescales. We can't afford to spend too long overhauling a loco. So with CNC machines, you really got everything that you need. You know, you can manufacture component parts, you can remanufacture them component parts 6 months later to exactly the same tolerances that you did the first time, and we can make them parts a lot quicker than you can if you make them manually. If once you've got your jigs and your fixtures and your programs all sorted out, you can come back a year later and remake them parts exactly the same. And, you know, a lot of that is standardisation. So that's why CNC machines really, you know, a vital part of this workshop.
Yeah. You mentioned to me also a minute ago, which I found very interesting, a lot of folks are apprehensive about the CNC technology, particularly when it comes to restoration.
Yeah.
But you found that even in restoration, you can restore parts with better accuracy than you can on the standard on a manual lathe.
Yeah.
Give us one example of something that you've brought in that was off of a locomotive. You did it all CNC, and you came out with a better product in the end.
Well, I mean, surface finishes alone. I mean, when you're manufacturing, say, a driving wheel axle, the quality of the finish where the bearing's going to be has got to be superb. You know, you're almost looking for a ground finish to make the axle box last, and so that it doesn't tear the white metal and the bronze bearing to pieces. So on a CNC lathe, you can achieve those surface finishes without the use of you know, a manual lathe and grinder, or a manual lathe and hours of polishing. You know, straight off the machine, straight press the wheels on, straight together, and you've got a component part there that's going to be good for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
You know.
That's amazing, and I'm glad to see you mention these things and actually apply them, because hopefully as we move along in the industry, we'll see other people that'll see this video, that'll see what's going on and say, wow, we really can use this technology to do it.
I already know that the Severn Valley Railway up near Birmingham in England have just recently bought a CNC machining centre. I think they're mainly looking at it for mass producing boiler stays, because they've got their own boiler shop for full-size steam locos, and I think they've been sending out an awful lot of work. And they probably realise that, you know, for a small price, they can do all of that in-house, and over the course of probably 3 or 4 years maybe, save themselves a fortune of subcontract work.
Yeah.
And also they're going to be able to offer that service to other people now, the same as I do here. I mean, we get approached by various preservation railways and small model engineers as well, you know, that don't necessarily want to spend hours in their own workshops making parts. We can put a price to a job, and if they're happy, we can turn out, you know, a quality job. Yeah.
And as you mentioned to me earlier also, you can put something in this machine, turn it on and walk away and go to the other machine and be working on something else.
That's it. You know, with mainly on the turning side of things, if it's a component part that's going to be turned out of a bar stock, then the machine feeds itself. If I set the machine to do 40 components, then it will do 40 and stop. In that hour that the machine is running, I can be getting on with railway work or doing fitting work or anything else. So the machine's earning us money while we're actually
getting your own work.
Yeah, getting on with our own work. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Martin, I have to tell you, I saw one of the locomotives run today. The locomotives are just an absolute work of art. So my compliments to you and your staff, all the volunteers that you have. And Martin, I'd like to thank you also for allowing us into your shop today and showing us everything that you've done. Just great work. Congratulations on all that you're doing. Thanks Martin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
So I'm here in the shop with two of the senior mechanics, Richard actually volunteered here for a year, then ended up working 30 plus years, 36 years, and then has come back now as a volunteer. Jim works here in the shop also, spends a lot of his free time and does a lot of work here, paints the locomotives and takes care of them. Richard, over the years of all the things that you've seen, tell us what one of your favorite experiences was, or something that when you look back at your experiences here at the railway, one of the things that stands out to you that says, this is really what makes this what it is for me?
Well, I've done so many things.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest achievement, I think, was to run 2 Royal trains.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit choked up on that. So 2 of our engines went to Liverpool for a garden festival in 1984. Mm-hmm. And I did the driver training up there. Mm-hmm. And commissioning the engines to the track, etc. Mm-hmm. And they had a problem in who do they put on the Royal train. Mm-hmm. So I got that job.
Wow.
And I shook hands with the Queen, and I carried the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. Uh-huh. And then later in the afternoon, there was a diesel locomotive from Ravenglass, uh-huh, which I had previously driven here when it was on trials prior to us having our diesels. Uh-huh. So they put me on that as well. So I drove 2 different steam diesel on the same day on a different railway to which I worked, uh-huh, carrying the Queen both occasions. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's probably the best. But there's been 1,000,001 uh-huh, things, you know. When somebody says talk, your brain goes dead, you know that. But, I mean, this is a magnificent job. Uh-huh. And when I applied for the job, George Barlow said, would you do this job for nothing? Uh-huh. I said, yeah. He said, oh, we'll give you a few bob as well. Yeah. And I've just explained to Dwight that a bob is an old shilling, uh-huh, which is 1/20th of a pound.
Wow.
Because he thought it might have been a pound.
Uh-huh.
No, it's 1/20th of a pound.
Wow.
We went through the English currency as it was pre-decimalisation.
Uh-huh.
So you can look all that up, you know. But, yeah, I mean, I've done so many TV programmes. I haven't got an equity card yet.
Yeah?
I'm still waiting.
Maybe we'll have to send you one.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Just to put it up on the wall.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Jim, you've enjoyed working on the locomotives. Yeah. Is there any one locomotive that's your favorite for any given reason?
No. When I used to drive, he used to put me on the bug quite a lot, uh-huh, so I did get used to that. Uh-huh. But no, they're all the same. I like them all. Uh-huh. I've known the railway since I was 6 years old, and I'm 70 now. Uh-huh. So I've known it all that time, and I've been helping out for about 25 years.
Really?
Yeah.
How about that? From 6 years old until now, that's quite a long time.
Yeah.
Now, Jim, you've also traveled over in the States, and we were talking about locomotives and differences between the States and between here. I really believe that these are just absolute works of art, but you had mentioned also that these are just locomotives and they run on a daily basis like any other locomotive.
That's right. Yes, they do up to about 70 odd miles a day, some of them.
Wow.
And it's about 3-4 times around the railway, Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so in past I have driven, mm-hmm, on service trains, but unfortunately, like Richard now, mm-hmm, we're too old to drive.
Yeah.
They've got a 70 waiver limit. Uh-huh. But I enjoy anything to do with the railway. I enjoy it.
Now, of the people that are still here, and you say there's the limit of 70 for the engineers, how many of you are here that have been here for many, many years? I mean, obviously the 2 of you have been here for a long time.
Yeah. Well, in other departments, mm-hmm, I mean, Michael's father, mm-hmm, he must have done at least 30 years. Uh-huh. And Fred, our chief engineer in that department, he's been here. They've got to both be over 30 years.
Around, yeah, he's been around.
Yeah, and then there's Robert, who does a lot of diesel driving. Uh-huh. If he's not retired, he's probably what ought to be.
Yeah.
Andy Mullins, he's been here.
Andy Mullins, Steve Rogers, yeah, Steve Deneen. I mean, I remember out on the school train one morning, mm-hmm, and a diesel hauled, and I was the driver and Steve Deneen was the guard. And he said to me, it was January, he said, it's my birthday today. I said, is it? I said, how old are you? He said, I'm 24. I said, it's my birthday tomorrow. He said, how old are you? I said, 48. And now I'm pushing 70 next January.
Wow.
So he's been here an awful long time.
Yeah.
So there's about 6 or 7 people.
My
who
Jakes, he's driving today.
Yeah.
He's been here.
Well, he's done about
He's
20
the same
years.
age.
He retired from his previous job. That's redundancy. Came along and he grabbed it with both hands, and then he came down here and did what he wanted to do.
That's neat. Jim, thank you very much for showing us the shop. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all of the time that you spent. Richard, thank you as well.
It's a pleasure.
What a neat place, and our hats off to all of you for the great work that you do. We hope that you keep going, and honestly, I hope that you both stick around for another 20 years.
Well,
we need guys like you to stick around for another 20 years.
We're both hoping we'll see the 100 years, haven't we?
Well, there you go.
yeah, well, we've got a date on a bench with 4 or 5 of us. Got a date on the bench this side of the signal box on 2027.
Okay.
So I've got to get over a little problem first.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you both on that date.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome very much.
Thank you. Michael, thanks so much for spending time with us today at the railroad. It's been really great.
So I appreciate it.
What impresses me about you is that you're one of the younger guys. We've talked to the older guys, and we've also talked about the history, and I found out that your father has worked here as well. So it's kind of a generational type of thing.
And another thing on that one, my grandmother works here as well.
Really?
Yeah, and then my granddad worked here as a station master.
So we have almost 4 generations.
And then my auntie worked here as well. So yeah,
Wow.
4 generations here.
A big family type event. There's something though about it. It's not just that it's generational for you, but you like the trains.
I like the work. I much appreciate the work, especially when you make something and it goes out there and you see it going out along the line and you look at it and you go, I built that. I've put that on there.
We talked a few minutes ago about the education that you have, and you've gone through school, you've done all that, but we talked about the fact that not a lot of that education applies directly to what you're doing.
Not at all.
So you still have to use a lot of your own common sense and things like that. Tell us how that works with the old guys. Are you able to use some of the education that you've used and work with the old guys?
Well, with the new generation, obviously, we go to college or university. It's middle school in America?
Sure.
Basically, the talents that we learn in college is different to the ones that already work here. Because when I first came and worked in this workshop, they had different ideas and different ways of doing it, and I come in obviously with the new way and said, this is how we do it, and they were like, oh, well, yeah, it does work.
Yeah.
The old ways always do work though. There are some old tricks you can work, but the new ways is really good.
Yeah.
Put it forward.
Working with the older guys has helped you though, because you've learned a lot that you otherwise wouldn't have known had they not have been here.
A lot of tricks of the trade comes along with it, but a lot of the stuff what I work in here is all 1929 stuff, so we've got to make it original, and the original people are the older generation.
Yeah. Now, some of these guys have been around for 30 years. Do you see yourself being here for 30 years?
I would like to. I'd like to see myself here. Obviously, my dad's been here about 25 years. Did P-way work, engineering, coach washing, all done it all. I would like to stay here. I like the job. I like the satisfaction I get out of making things, and watching it go along on the track just makes me feel a lot more better about myself. Yeah. Big confidence boost. That's what I think it is.
That's great. Well, Michael, again, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it. It's been great. The whistle that you're working on is just absolutely beautiful. I wish I could take one home with me.
You can have it if you want.
I'll put it in my suitcase. Yeah. Thank you very much. It's meant a lot to us. Now, everybody's got to stay tuned, because we're almost done here at Romney, Hythe, and Dymchurch, and we're going to head up to York to the National Railway Museum, but we're going to leave you with a few more shots of the Romney, Hythe, and Dymchurch before we go. Michael, thanks again for all your time, and thanks for having us here today.
That's fine. Thank you.
Bye-bye.